Hello students, welcome to Drishti IAS. In this video, we will discuss the record voting which has been witnessed by Bihar in this year's elections. So this year's elections are being called historic for two major reasons. The first reason is an increase in the overall voter turnout. The highest overall voter turnout has been recorded in Bihar since 1951. The first state general elections. Since then, there has been the highest voter turnout that has been recorded in this year's election, and it was 66.91%. So this was our first historic event. And then even out of this overall voter turnout, the number of female voters was significantly higher than the number of male voters in Bihar. If we look at the percentage data, 71.6% of women voters cast their votes in comparison to 62.8% of men. This tells us that there was a huge gender gap in the voter turnout. Percentage wise also there was a huge gender gap, but this percentage difference is not actually our historic event, because if you look at this graph over here, you'll realize that the number, like the percentage of female voters, has been steadily higher than the percentage of male voters in Bihar in the past years. This line is for the percentage of female voters and this is for the percentage of male voters. So the percentage of female voters has already been steadily increasing in comparison to male voters. Then what was so historic this year? It was actually the increase in the absolute number of female voters in comparison to male voters. So more and more women actually came out of their homes and they cast their votes in comparison to their male counterparts. There was an increase in the absolute number of female voters in comparison to their male counterparts, because for percentage you also have to look at the eligible pool of male and female voters. But here there was an absolute increase in the number of female voters. So female voters outnumbered the male voters for the very first time in Bihar. This was the second historic event. So this tells us that females are no longer just silent spectators in the election process. They can actually play a fundamental role in deciding who is going to form the government. And that is what happened in this year's elections as well. Now if we look at some district-wise data, then according to some reports, Supaul recorded the highest gender gap in the voter turnout. So the difference in the percentage of female voters and the percentage of male voters was the highest in Supaul. And if we look at the highest number of female voters, then that was recorded in Kishanganj. Highest number of female voters. In fact, in this year's elections, 37 of the 38 districts have recorded more female voting in comparison to male voting. The only exception here was Patna, which had more male voters in comparison to female voters. But otherwise, there has been a huge gender gap in this year's voter turnout. In fact, this belt over here has seen the highest gender gap. So we have Madhubani, Supaul, Araiya, Kishanganj, Purnia, they have seen the highest gender gap. Gopalganj has also seen a great gender gap, but this belt in particular has seen the highest gender gap when it comes to the voter turnout. So more and more women actually came out, they cast their vote because they wanted to be heard and they wanted to be included in deciding who is going to form the government. And why do you think such record participation was noticed? So first reason could be that more women now became eligible to join the list of voters. More women joined the eligible list of voters. But there's another reason, there's a more psychological reason towards it, that maybe some policies actually benefited these women. The women felt heard, they felt benefited, and they could work towards their development. Maybe that's why they wanted to come out, take the effort and cast their votes. So if we talk about some of these policy efforts over here, there were many policies, there could be many policies, but we are going to highlight only a few of them. First, the Mukhyamantri Mahila Rozgar Yojana. You remember this scheme talked about giving a grant, a one-time grant of 10,000 to one woman per family, not a loan but a grant. And maybe this money actually benefited the women. They could work towards their development, and that is why, because of these policies like this, they actually came out of their homes and they cast their votes. Then Lakhpati Didi could be another driving factor. Here the women entrepreneurs were being helped. Then Jivika could be another. Jivika or the self-help groups, where these Jivika Didis, they were encouraged to form self-help groups and they were given this credit and training facility so that they could work towards revenue generation and employment generation and earn some profit. So this could be something. Then we know that there is reservation for women in Bihar. So there is a 50% reservation for women in the Panchayati Raj institutions and a 35% reservation for women in state government jobs. So maybe these could be some of the possible reasons. This is not a complete list. There could be more such policies, more such driving factors, but maybe these were some of the sustained policy efforts that the government took, which actually benefited these women, and the women wanted to come out, take the effort and cast their votes, because now they were feeling more included in the process of development. The state's development was actually their development as well. So maybe these things happened and women decided to cast such record votes. So that was all for today's video. This definitely was a historic moment for Bihar as well as the complete country, where we see that sustained policy efforts can actually lead to a historic event like this, where people feel included and they want to cast their votes and they want to be more participative in the election process. So that was all for this video. Now, as always, let us look at a practice question for prelims. In the context of recent Bihar elections, which of the following best explains why the 2025 female voter turnout is considered historic? A. Introduction of compulsory voting for women. B. Significant absolute increase in the number of women voters compared to men. C. Reservation of all polling booths exclusively for women. D. First time use of online voting in rural areas. Choose the correct option. Please provide your answers in the comment section and we will meet in a new video. Thank you for watching.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.